Hi, everybody. Welcome to week 3 of integration. I can't do this anymore. I'm going to start by sharing my screen with you because even though I won't be talking about this diagram immediately or really even directly, it's going to be helpful as I'm talking about the details in the video for you all to have a higher level overview of the concept that I'm breaking down. And what we're really talking about today is evolution. The I can't do this anymore, this isn't working tantrum has a lot of power in it. It's really the last stop before we break through. So when we can break through, when we can process it and move through it, it can send us shooting off into a whole new way of seeing something, a whole new perspective, a big shift. And when we get stuck there, it can send us kind of careening into a shitstorm of doubt and shame and judgment. And I really want us to be able to understand the difference between the two so that we can start to have a conscious choice. So that's what this video is about. Let's get started. So if last week's video was convincing, then you have decided to go out into the world and iterate. Hooray! This video is talking about what happens when iteration reaches the place where fantasy wears off and the reality comes in. 99% of iterations land us in a this isn't working, I can't do this anymore place. The other 1% are miracles. The reason I'm talking about I can't do this anymore and not miracles is because we can't make miracles happen. This is not to say that we shouldn't work toward miracles. We absolutely should, but just that we cannot engineer them. And I've seen a lot of people lose a lot of life trying. Miracles do happen, and they will happen to you undoubtedly the longer you stay in the space. And the work then, of course, is feeling deserving. But here, if we expect them, we will always feel like we're falling short. Expect to hit a wall. This is usually how it works. And both things help us evolve. If you haven't seen it drawn out, it's easy to think that evolution happens gradually over time. And there's some truth to that. There's some steady movement, but there's some steady movement and then a giant leap, an iteration, a cataclysm, and then a shift. The I can't do this place is one of those cataclysms, and moving through it is exactly how we, our ideas, our possibilities, and our identities evolve. I can't do this anymore teaches us persistence without resistance. Through meeting this place again and again, we learn how to give up the iteration without giving up the dream, how to give up the details without giving up on the big picture, how to give up the action without giving up on the person, i.e. ourselves or our future. I've watched a lot of people move in and out of the I can't do this place, and I have been there a ton myself. When fantasy and reality collide, it's often painful. We don't like pain, so as this comes up on us, we resist like hell. Somehow we think that's the smarter option. This makes it really messy. We get mad and we tantrum, whatever that looks like for you. You will drink, you will shop, you will binge eat or watch, you will stop eating, you will call exes, you will heavily resist the place of acceptance. This is just what it looks like if we don't encounter a miracle. This is the process, and it's not only normal, but actually how it works. And when we start to understand that this is the process, that this is how it works, we have the ability to stop relating this catastrophe place back to ourselves. And at that point, we can come to learn that the suffering of stuckness is worse than the pain of evolution. We think that suffering and stuckness is protective and that it's keeping us safe from pain, but it actually isn't. If you don't believe that, or you don't understand what I'm saying, you will never get the chance to see that stuckness is actually the worst of the two, and doubly so, because for one, stuckness is chronic. So it feels like part of us. It's hard to separate from something that never goes away. And two, it makes us smaller and more contracted and less able to see anything outside of our own tiny perspective. Evolution, on the other hand, might be more intense, but it's a much shorter process, and we get a lot out of it. We learn a lot, our ideas get bigger, our vision gets wider, and we grow. We can come to see things from multiple perspectives. Stuckness is not actually protecting us. It is killing us. It's hard to talk about pain. It's hard to ask people to feel pain, but that is a big part of what I do. I support people first in understanding the difference between pain and suffering, and then helping them believe in their capacity. This is what any good coach does. They know how to support their students in reaching the brink of what is possible, and sometimes even beyond that. Here in this realm, that has everything to do with pain, whether you're a literal gymnast or a mental one. We have to learn how to healthily engage with pain because that is what makes us stronger. It's not an easy choice, and many of us don't even know we're making it. It's really hard not to avoid or invite pain if you've never been taught how to engage healthily with it. This, like all things, is a skill to be practiced. Avoiding or inviting pain is suffering, and suffering doesn't actually make us stronger. It makes us confused, exhausted, and entitled. This is no one's fault. It's not a conscious choice, but we need to know the difference. Healthily engaging with pain makes us stronger, sharper, more humble, and allows us to surprise ourselves. It allows us to see what is actually possible and evolves us. We don't have to like the pain, but we have to love it and accept it so that we can stop wasting all of our energy on suffering. At some point, we may even come to revere it. Suffering and I have been intimate partners in this life for as long as I can remember, because pain and I have been intimate partners, and no one taught me the difference. I didn't have any guides who knew the difference, and it took me decades of studying every angle I could think of to figure it out. And then one day I hit a "this isn't working, I can't do this anymore" desperate moment that felt very much like all the others. But instead of succumbing to the suffering, something shifted and I unstuck. That was my miracle. And it was the beginning of understanding for me. It still took me years after that of sorting it all out. And I'm still in process. I always will be. We always are. But unsticking and learning how to process pain has allowed me the greatest honor of my life, which is teaching others the way. I revere my pain for that. I don't want other people to have to find the way alone. It should never have to be harder than it already is. Accepting the reality of the moment and giving up on any particular iteration of any particular thing is painful, especially if we're identified with it or we really hang our hopes on it. But also, when we can submit just to the tiny fact that this iteration will not work, space opens to all the other things that can. When we can drop the focus on this one tiny thing, our vision widens and we have access to brand new ideas we couldn't see when we were laser focused. Acceptance settles us and the mental anguish lifts for some time, and we have new possibilities and new angles to try. This is the exact process of iteration, which eventually leads to integration. And the practice of practice is what helps us through it all, because we need space from all of the narratives so we don't get bogged down and confused along the way. Each time we tantrum through "I can't do this anymore" and move through it without identifying with it, we get a bit better at understanding this place and its purpose. Each time we get a little clearer on the understanding that this place means we're getting really close to something good. Each time we get faster at recognizing what's happening, and it's easier and easier to let go. Each time it speeds up. This place is a gift just as much as miracles. They both help us evolve. So our aim is not to avoid this place and also not to invite it, but just to learn from it, to make peace with it while it's here. When we notice ourselves here, we have 3 practices. 1, persistence without resistance. Give up the iteration, not on the dream. Give up the action, not on the person, not on yourself. 2, practice decoupling our identities from this. Pain and suffering are different. Pain is unavoidable, but we are not meant to suffer. And 3, keep moving, no matter how slowly and no matter what. The suffering of stuckness is worse than the pain of evolution. Thank you for your time. May you be happy. May you be healthy. May you be peaceful and well. And I will see you next week.